Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story. And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
What is going on, Canes fam? I am Matty Ice. He is Caniacs, and this is the Canes Call-In Show live. Caniacs, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Of course, it's Tuesday night, 8 p.m., 5 p.m. on the West Coast. Oh, we're live.
You know where we at, dude. It's still daylight out here, man.
I know. I love it.
I know, man.
So how you doing?
I'm good, man. Just chilling, had a pretty busy, eventful weekend. I had a cold. So first time getting sick since, I don't know, like fucking 2 years, a year and a half or whatever. But yeah, so I worked from home on Friday, and then on Saturday I was just kind of chilling, and then Sunday was it was my girlfriend's little sister's birthday.
Oh, that's
we had it at our house, and so her family came, and so they obviously had met like 4th of July, but they came to my house, and so my parents and her parents like talking more and stuff, and so it's it was interesting.
Well, that's good.
So it was a good time though.
That's good, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, man. What about
What's
you?
up, Sigmund?
What'd you do this weekend? What's up, Sigmund?
Not a whole lot. Not really nothing. It's really hot out here now, so we do a lot of inside stuff. Mm-hmm. Just clean, gamed a little bit, playing that new Tarkov, Escape from Tarkov. That got me hooked on that. That shit is hard as hell though, man. Jesus. But other than that, man, just busy, working. That's all.
Also, I gotta say it's pretty hot here, so I had to open my windows. We don't have AC, so if you guys hear some noises, like, I'm sorry, but your boy's got to do it. Otherwise, it's gonna be like a few weeks ago when I almost passed out. So it's happening. Happening.
We don't want that. We don't want that.
I gotta say, man, when I was watching the intro and because I think you used Trajan Bandy's interception right against Notre Dame. That was the one against Notre Dame. Mm-hmm. Do you remember? Did you see on Twitter I don't know if it was like a week ago when Notre Dame posted like, what do you think of when you see this? And it was like their logo or something, and Nesta retweeted and said Trajan.
Yeah, that was so great. That was such great. That was awesome. Oh man, that was funny. That was a good burn too, man. That was good.
It's true. That's what I think of.
Me too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's not that midget Rudy or whatever, dude.
Who's that?
Rudy, that stupid ass movie.
That's funny shit right there.
Yeah, man. So, never mind the last 15 minutes of work. How's it going, Desmond? Oh, there you go. First time live. I love it. Welcome, Desmond.
Welcome, Solomon. Hopefully,
pleasure to have you. Hopefully, we don't fuck it up.
Right? We might, though. We're pretty good at shit like that.
Yeah, no, especially Caniacs. So, man, since we last talked, I think we have a commit, right? Since we last talked, Chris Graves.
Correct. Yep. The
thing that, obviously people tune in to hear our brilliant analytical minds when it comes to football. Right. Dude, the thing that surprised me, the kid, he's only like 16.
Yes.
And he's going to be a senior. Like, so he's like what a junior, should be.
Mm-hmm.
That's insane to me.
Yeah, he technically should be a 2023 guy.
Yeah.
Technically.
That's crazy. So, I think David Lake and, Gabby were talking about that, the fact of, how just physically gifted he is at that age.
Mm-hmm.
And speak of the devil, we are going to be having David Lake on tonight. So just, wanted to plug that in a little bit.
Absolutely. You did
I'm
a good
super
job
excited
too. That
about
was
that.
nice. That was
Yeah,
great.
it was very
Nice
very
slide in
subtle,
there.
right? Yeah. So we're gonna have David Lake on. We're gonna talk. We're gonna talk everything about season expectations, the recruiting, as much as he wants to give us, because you gotta pay for that inside information, right?
Yeah, he's got bills to pay. I understand.
Yeah, he's got bills to pay, and I'm gonna preface that with every question I have, but at the same time, I'm gonna be like, yo, just let us know, man.
Yeah.
And then we're also gonna have Adam Arnott on to talk about everything NIL. Is it, dude? Some people say NLI and some say NIL. Is it like the same thing? Is it interchangeable?
No, it's not interchangeable. NIL, name,
Okay.
image, likeness. NLI,
Name,
what is that? National
likeness,
letter
image.
of intent.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I've heard people say NLI too, so it's really weird.
I think they're just used to saying that.
Yeah.
And they're just getting it a little mixed up there,
Yeah, but anyway, so we're gonna have Adam Arnott on. He was a former Canes center, actually. I think he walked on.
Yeah, walk on center.
Now he's a practicing attorney, man, and he's really honed in on this NIL stuff. He's Ryan Rigoni's. He represents Ryan Rigoni and the Ryan Rigoni Derek King podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm interested in hearing his thoughts on everything going on. Just because of his experience as a college athlete, and I think he has an interesting perspective on everything because of that.
Plus, we're 2 weeks in.
Yeah, I feel like everything's changed too, even though I don't really know what's changed. But it's okay. Funny. He's gonna explain everything to us.
He will. He'll get it all lined up for us, I'm sure.
Yeah, hopefully. So, man, do you want to get right into our really random rankings for this week?
No, not yet.
You
got to do the boy.
Oh.
Yeah, we always got to talk about our sponsor, man. Stickers at AB. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we just love our sponsor. If you want go ahead.
I was gonna say, this is how dope his stickers are. I literally bought a mini fridge just to put these stickers on. That's how dope these stickers are, bro. So if you don't have them, like, I don't know what you're doing with life. These
are just a couple anyway. He's got tons more. He's also got magnets. He's got some fire shirts. Yeah. Did you get yours?
Dude, I already told you. I already have a bunch of them. I'm waiting to put them on my fridge.
No. I'm talking about your shirt. Did you get your shirt yet?
Oh yeah, I wore it on 4th of July.
Oh, that's right. I saw that in that shoe.
Yeah.
In that picture you sent. But anyways, if you need all this fire stuff, you go to www.stickersbyab.com. That's stickers, STICKERZ by AB.com. Use our promo code CCI15 so you get 15% off your entire order. So we would like for you to go get your order so you can stick and rep with us.
Absolutely. Shout out to AB. We got to have him on soon too.
Yeah, maybe if Chris can't come on next week, we'll see if he can come co-host with us.
Ooh, I'd be down for that.
So AB, if you listen, let us know.
I don't think he is. Hopefully.
Hopefully, we'll see.
All right, man. So we ready for this or what? Really random rankings?
Now we're ready. All right.
Okay, that music got me like slightly aroused, hungry, and like I was just feeling a bunch of emotions. I thought I was on Molly for a second. I don't know what was going on.
It's doing its job then.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So for this edition of the Really Random Rankings, we are going to be ranking our top 5 fast food burgers. Caniacs, do you want to go first?
No, I went first last week. You go first.
Okay, I didn't know if you'd remember or not.
Oh.
So I want to preface this with, obviously I live in California. I have never been to a Whataburger and I have never been to a Culver's. So keep that in mind. And we're strictly talking fast food burgers. So my top 5, I'm going to start with number 5, Carl's Jr. I grew up on that Western bacon cheeseburger, man. That thing for fast food, man, that was it. That was it. Those, what were they? The $6 burgers or whatever. The big ass ones, or how much were they?
Oh, I don't know, but you'd hold that thing like that, and it would. Yeah, I remember they were like $5 or $6. They were giant.
It was a meatloaf on a freaking like bun. That's what it was. Yeah.
That's
my
funny.
number 4. I know we have someone that watches the show that's from Cali, so I can't believe I just said Cali, California. And there's a small chain that's in California and Arizona. I was debating if I should even put this on the list. It's called Tommy's. Tommy's has chili that is like so freaking good. That's what they're known for. It's the chili. So like it's something different. So I'm like, dude, I got to put this on. The patty itself is like, it's a normal like fast food patty, but it's the chili that really makes it. It's so freaking good and greasy.
Okay. All right.
Not to mention their chili cheese fries. I know we're strictly talking burgers, but I just got to say. Number 3, Wendy's. Their fries are soggy pieces of shit, and I don't like them. They're disgusting. But their burgers, the Baconator, the Dave's hot single, double, like those are fire. I'll take those any day. Number 2, and you're gonna disagree with me on this one. In-N-Out. I have a newfound love. I actually was someone who was from California that thought that In-N-Out is overhyped. I still think it is overhyped because that line is way too long every single night I go. In-N-Out though, for fast food, the price point, everything solid. That's what a hamburger is all about, bro. So that's my number 2. Number 1, Five Guys. Best burger, fast food. I mean, some people wouldn't consider it fast food. It's more like fast cash, but all about it. That's my top 5. Kaniacs, you want to get into your top 5? Because it looks like we have a guest that just joined us.
Top 5, number 5. I got to go with Wendy's because I love the Dave single because I think they use that butter burger or that butter pickles or whatever it is. It's just it's just good. And then when you go, you have to get the fries and the Frosty, man. What the hell is wrong with you? You got to do that. If you don't do that, then you don't know what you're doing. Okay, just so you know. Number 4 on my list is either Rallies out in there or it's Checkers. You know, because in Florida it's Checkers, here it's Rallies. I love their fries too. Their fries are good to me. I have to agree with my number 3 is Carl's Jr., but out there in Florida it's Hardee's. That's what I grew up on. And then at number 2, I do like Five Guys at number 2 spot. And my number 1 spot, I know you haven't had it, and if you ever come out here, we're going to go to it. But it's Culver's, man. I just love Culver's. I love it.
I want to try it. It looks really good.
It really is good. And you get them cheese curds on the sides. But man, let me tell you something.
You're making me hungry, man.
I know, right?
Yeah. All right, man. All
right, what we got here? Five Guys all day. Gabrielle says Wendy's is all as good. Wendy's is about as good as the Rudy movie you love.
It's not good.
That is not good at all. What do you say? Five Guys all day. Yeah, I agree with that.
I like it.
Yeah, so let's take a quick break, and then on the back, we'll bring in Mr. David Lake.
Let's do it.
All right, so we're back. So let's go ahead and bring this guest in. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready, man. We are now joined by David Lake from Inside the U, part of the 247 network, host of the Through the Smoke podcast. I guess I should say editor now too, right?
Yeah, well, I guess host. I don't know technically. Andrew, passed those duties on to me. Yeah, I mean, I'm editing all the shows now, so if it sounds a little more amateurish, it's my fault. But glad to be on with you guys. Always excited to talk some Canes.
Yeah,
thanks. Really
David,
appreciate you coming on.
I got to be honest with you. We've interviewed a few like former players and like current players and other people that are, in Canes media. I have never been as starstruck as I have right now. And I'm not pulling your chain, man. I'm being real. It's an honor to have you on.
That's very nice of you to say. I appreciate that. Thank you.
So David, I'm not sure if you've seen our show at all or anything. But usually when we have a guest on, we do this little game called All Hype Sounds Right. Okay. So I thought we could get into that and
let's do it.
Get you warmed up and ready to go.
Let's go.
All right, let's go. Right.
And now it's time for everyone's favorite game show, All Hype or Sounds Right. With your favorite host, Matty Ice.
I love watching people's reactions to that. They're like, what the hell is going on?
That's some good imaging. I'm impressed.
Oh,
thank you.
David.
I appreciate
that
it.
Means a lot.
Good stuff.
Clip that for later, Caniacs.
That's
all
it.
Right. So the name of the game is All Hype Sounds Right. Basically, you're going to tell us if something's all hype or if it sounds right, sounds legit to you. So, first one, we're not starting off with any softballs, okay, David?
Let's go.
Gabby is a better co-host than Andrew Ivins.
Oh, man.
Right off the bat.
Well, I just gotta. I mean, because Gabby's the guy I'm working with now, right? I gotta go with sounds right.
You gotta go
play
with
the
the
long
political
game, right?
answer. Yeah,
That's it.
Sorry, Andrew, but Gabby's my guy now, so I gotta
He
ride
is
with
the
Gabby,
guy.
right?
That's it. I like that one. That's
man.
good.
I love it. That's hilarious. Okay, so let's get into some Canes ones. In Rhett Lashley's second year as a Miami OC, the Canes offense will average a touchdown more per game. They averaged 34 points per game last season. All hype sounds right.
Yeah, that's a good one. So we're going with 7 points or 6 points? Because to me, that 40-point mark.
Okay, we'll go 6. We'll go 6. 6.
So that's interesting to me. I think 40 to me is the goal. I think that's what they want to achieve. If I'm being honest, I think they probably fall just short. I do think they'll improve. I would probably say 38-ish. But, I mean, let's be real. That's still a nice improvement, in my opinion, year over year. And I think they could definitely achieve the 40-point mark. I think it's within reach, especially considering, there's an FCS opponent on the schedule this year, which is going to help that average bump up. But I think 40 is a good ballpark number. I think I'll say just under 40, though, in my opinion.
Okay. I respect
that.
it. Yeah, I like that. So, David, I think you're the self-proclaimed president of the Mark Pope Club. Is that still correct?
Yeah, I guess you could still call me that. Yeah.
Okay.
I definitely was this time last year. I still believe in Mark. I just, I got to see it. Got to see it now.
Okay.
So no more hope. I got to see results.
That's it.
So this question is specifically for you then, man.
Okay.
De'Aaron King will have more rushing yards than Mark Pope will have receiving yards this year.
I think Mark Pope will have more receiving yards.
Okay.
I think De'Aaron will have. I mean, we'll see. We'll see. I think De'Aaron will have less rushing yards.
Just last season.
Just because with the injury, I think they will ease him. I'm not sure they will want to just throw him out there, make him the type of runner he was last year, right? Because they did when they used him, it was on a lot of designed runs. It wasn't necessarily. Zone read type stuff where he would read what the defense gave him. I mean, they did have those opportunities, but most of the time it was just designed runs. So I think partly De'Aaron's rushing totals might be down a little bit. I do think his passing totals will be up. But I think there is a chance Mark Pope has a more productive year, which isn't saying much because he was around 400 yards last year, I think. I think there's a chance he's 450-ish, maybe gets close to 500 this year. I do like, in the spring game, they were using him in the slot. And I think that might be a better suited role for him because, we've just seen it, right? Like when he's an outside guy, he's got to make a contested catch. I'm not necessarily sure he's that guy, right? But can he be a guy that comes on crossers or a quick game, catch it, pick some yards up after the catch? I think he's better suited for that role. So we'll see. I'm still going to ride with Mark. I still believe in his talent. It just hasn't clicked for whatever reason. And I don't understand why, because in high school, he was a beast.
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of speaking about, rushing yards and so I think one of the more slept on guys for this season is not talked about at all is Cam Harris.
Sure.
So all hype sounds right. Cam Harris will lead the team in rushing next season.
That's a tough one, right? I personally think Don Chaney is the best running back on the team this year. Do I necessarily think he will be given that role? I don't know. I do think game one, it's going to be Cam Harris, and we'll see what he can do with it. And if Cam produces against Alabama, he's going to keep that job as he should. But But if it's kind of lackluster type performance, that opens the door. And I think once that door opens, I mean, Jalen Knighton could take the job too. But I just think Don Chaney's best suited of that group to be that 20 carry guy that they do want. I mean, Rhett Lashley's kind of he's put it out there, right? He wants that type of guy.
Back.
Cam Harris can be that guy too. I'm just not sold on Cam's vision, if I'm being honest. I think he needs to improve his vision. And if he does, he can definitely be that guy. So I think there's a chance Cam Harris is the leading rusher. Probably if you're going to bet it, he's the smart bet. Okay. Just because he did it last year. But me personally, I look at Don Chaney as being the best of the backs. And, maybe the second half of the season, I could see a scenario where he's the starter, those last 6-7 games.
Okay.
I can see that too, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, David, Miami has had at least one player with 8 sacks every year that Manny Diaz has been at Miami. So my next question is, all hype sounds right, this streak will continue this season.
Yeah. I'll go sounds right. I'll go sounds right. I'm a believer in the scheme. And DeAndre Johnson, he's not on the level that we've seen at Miami here, during the Manny Diaz era, if we're being real, right? But he did impress me with what he showed in the spring game. I think, if he does play a full 13 games, I don't see why he can't get 8 sacks. So I'll say sounds right.
Okay. That was the last one we had for you. We got another game that I'm really excited for you to play because I think you're going to really be into it. But just going off of that, I know you mentioned DeAndre Johnson. Who are some of the young guys at defensive end that you're really looking at that could maybe step up this season?
Yeah, I think, it's time for Jafari Harvey to step up, right?
Yeah.
We've seen the flashes. We haven't necessarily seen the consistency. And the physical ability is there. I just think he's got to put it all together. I think he's got to understand better how to read things up front in terms of what's coming, run or pass. And once he does have a better understanding of that, I think he'll be able to just react rather than, you can tell he's kind of thinking out there, and that makes him a step or two slow at times. So I think, would you count Jafari as a young guy? I mean, he's going to be entering his 3rd year. Does he count in your opinion? Because
I would count him.
He hasn't really played. I am a Chance fan. I don't know if Chance is. It might be too soon this year, but I think he's an intriguing guy too. And that's kind of what I've heard this summer is, in that battle for that 4th spot. Because the top 3, from what I've heard, are kind of separated, being DeAndre, Zach, and Jafari. That 4th spot, kind of a Chance and Cam Williams battle. And the latest I've heard is, it seems like Chance is kind of making a move. I don't think he's necessarily overtaken Cam, but it's going to be interesting, and we'll see how that plays out during fall camp. And Cam has talent in his own right. He's another guy too. He's got to get stronger. And he's just got to put it all together on the field. Got to produce. I mean, that's the bottom line. You got to produce. So, I would say Jafari. I think the two starters will be Jafari and DeAndre. I think Zach will be kind of a situational guy. And then that 4th spot, if I'm guessing now, I would go Chance.
Okay. You referenced Cam Williams a little bit, and I always remember, I believe it was on your show when Andrew Ivins interviewed him. He interviewed Greg Rousseau, and Rousseau had said that Cam Williams is the player that most reminds him of himself, right? Sure. And I think, it's easy to see with the athleticism and length. Do you think it's just a developmental thing, or?
I would disagree with Greg, to be honest. I mean, Greg is an outlier, right? Like, there's not going to be many Greg Rousseau's type stories coming through Miami. maybe ever, right?
Mhm.
Greg's frame is he's just bigger than Cam. To me, Cam is long, but he's a little narrow in my opinion. So he needs to keep getting stronger. He is athletic. There's no doubt about that. He can run, change directions. The technique needs work. I mean, with Greg, the thing that makes Greg special is his wingspan, right? So he's touching offensive linemen before they can touch him, right? Because his
Mhm.
wingspan's so long.
Yeah.
Cam's not quite that freak, right? Physically.
Yeah.
So I could see why Greg said that. And I do think, they're friends and Greg's, showing love to his friends. So um, we'll see. Again, they all got to develop. They all got to show what they can do.
Yeah, absolutely. I kind of want to shift gears. I was asking you about, the young guys in the defensive end room that you thought would step up. I kind of want to shift to another position that I think is widely talked about by Canes fans and just everyone in general that follows the Canes, the wide receiver room. Obviously, there's some upperclassmen that maybe haven't performed as we thought they would. Who are some of the younger guys you're looking at in that room to maybe step up this year?
Yeah, I mean, there's people around the program, and I'm not disagreeing with it, but I got to see it, right? There's people
Yeah.
around the program that will tell you Keyshawn Smith is the most talented receiver on the team. Now, what does talented mean? I don't know. I don't know if that means they think he's already the best guy on the team or if they think he will be the best player on the team down the road, whenever that is, that timeline, right? A year, 2 years down the road. But everyone is high on Keyshawn Smith. And he did start the spring game for whatever that's worth, right?
Yeah.
So he's kind of the main one I would highlight right now.
Okay.
I do think Romello Brinson brings something to the table. But again, he's a true freshman. It's hard to project much playing time for true freshmen. I mean, unless the other guys just don't step up.
Right.
And then I am a big fan of Brashard Smith. I just don't know, what kind of role can he carve out with Harley there and Restrepo taking a step up, this offseason. But I do think Brashard is a big, big, big time player. But I would probably highlight, if there is a young guy to know, Keyshawn Smith. I do think Jeremiah Payton, extremely talented. He's had a rough career with various twists and turns. So if everything kind of smooths out, I could see him definitely entering the rotation too. So I'd probably go Keyshawn Smith, Jeremiah Payton. And, they were, D. Wiggins, Mark Pope, they're going to play a lot too. Charleston Rambo, of course, Mike Harley. So.
Okay.
Well, let's switch over to the defense. And we know another position of needs besides defensive end is the linebackers. Who do you see starting as a linebacker spot this year?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't know, and I don't think anyone knows really right now.
Right. I think that's the question everybody's trying to find out.
Me personally, the way things look right now, I would project Corey Flagg and Keontre Smith, to be honest.
Yeah.
Sam Brooks, if he's been dealing with some toe stuff, and I don't know what his timeline is. I don't know if he's fully back doing stuff right now, to be honest with you. So if he is fully healthy for fall camp, he's certainly in the mix for either one of those spots. I would say more weak side in my opinion, but he could also make a run at the middle job too, I guess. I personally think they want Corey Flagg to be the middle linebacker. It's just a matter of him getting the job done, which, he's flashed a little bit. I think the athleticism, and he knows this, he would tell you this needs to improve, and it's something he's working on. So I think they like the idea of Corey Flagg at middle linebacker because of the leadership, work ethic he brings. And then weak side, it honestly is totally up for grabs. I could even see Wayman Steed, to be honest. I wouldn't be shocked if they went that direction, but I would probably project Keontre right now.
Okay.
which I like. I mean, Keontre's small, but he does play downhill. You know, of the guys they have on the roster, I like Keontre the most probably in that role.
Yeah. Something that you've really referenced, I think, a couple times at least on your podcast with Gabby is you've said that this is the put up or shut up year for Manny Diaz. He's calling the plays on defense now. What kind of improvement do you expect on the defensive side of the ball with him calling plays?
Yeah. So in a way, I'm not sure like the statistical numbers will be totally better. I mean, I do like the rushing defense needs to improve, right? To me, that's the one stat where it's like, okay, you got to go from 75 to top 45, right? If we're being realistic. So that needs to improve. Points per game, honestly, just with the way college football's trending, I don't know. Like, I think it was 28 points per game. I would take it honestly if this Miami defense allowed 26-ish points per game. Now you can't have those peak performances like in terms of allowing points, so it's not peak, I guess, but like a 62 pointer against North Carolina, you can't allow that to happen.
Right.
But to me, the identity of this team, honestly, is offense. And so I think, and Manny knows that, I think he needs to lean into that and, you know, just kind of play the turnover game, the field goal game, the field position game, which luckily they do have a very good punter, which helps with that.
Yeah.
So, you know, I don't know necessarily if like, because in my opinion, right, it boils down to the players. And the last time Manny Diaz was the defensive coordinator, that defense was stacked with talent, right? Like you had NFL draft picks all over the place on that defense. I'm not necessarily sure this defense is of that caliber. But I do think like with Manny taking over, they'll be more aggressive, which matters. I think better on third down, which matters. So, you know, I would say, look, if you're expecting a light switch to turn on it and it to look like the 2018 defense all over again, I wouldn't expect that. But I would expect, you know, a slight improvement in terms of like points per game. I think the area Manny wants to improve most, though, is run defense, which I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, you look at last year and anytime they faced a good running back, they couldn't stop them. So we'll see if they will. I mean, we'll know first 2 weeks, honestly, because App State has a good running back too.
That's true.
Yeah. Well, David, you honestly segued me like right into the question I wanted to ask you about. You talk about run defense. I was going to ask you, how important is it for this year for us to beat North Carolina?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you know, I do think it's okay. Let me ask you this. I'll turn a question back on you because I don't know where I stand on this yet, right?
Okay.
Is it more important? Let's say the bottom line is Miami's 10-2. Okay. Is it more important for Miami to win 10 games, or is it more important for Miami to beat North Carolina? Because to me, it's the most important thing this year is to win at least 10 games.
Okay. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Because even if we lose to North Carolina, they showed last year that they lose fluke games too. Florida State and who else was it they lost to? Georgia Tech.
It would hurt the coastal chances, no doubt, which isn't ideal, right? Like that would be bad. But
because if we lose to North Carolina and we only lose to them in the coastal, Carolina loses 2 games, or you know what I'm saying? It's possible,
right?
But
I guess I'm saying just big picture wise, like, yes, of course, it'd be great to beat North Carolina. But I am more interested in that 10-win mark because I think that's the next step to me, right? Like the chances of this happening are not likely, but let's say Miami beats North Carolina but goes 8-4. So what are we talking about then, right? Like to me, you got to win 10 games. And you look at there was a poster on the message board the other day that was like, man, I looked at the season records of the last 15 years, and Miami's been extremely average. And it's like, yeah, it's startling when you look at how few 10-win seasons, how few even 9-win seasons Miami's had. So I think, to me, the next step in general I want to see is 10 wins. And with this schedule, and honestly, if they win 10 games and lose to North Carolina, yes, that's not ideal, but I would take that all day, because I think if you win 10 games, you can stack another good recruiting class. You're playing the long game.
North Carolina. Yeah, I got you.
You're playing the long game. So, yes, it would be great for them to beat North Carolina, no doubt. But to me, I'm thinking more big picture, like just find a way to win 10 games. If that includes a win over North Carolina, awesome.
Yeah.
If not,
okay.
Then you've won every game you're supposed to win. And to me, that's a nice step forward for this program too. I know, like, diehard Canes don't want to hear that, because, everyone thinks you should go 12-0 at the start of the year, right? Because that's the standard at Miami, and I get that. But building a program, it's a ladder, right? And to me, the next step is 10 wins. And that, like I said, that allows you to get the recruits you need to keep building the roster up. Because honestly, this roster, it's good, but you guys know, like, it still has its holes, right? Like, we've talked about linebacker, we talked about defensive end having question marks, etc. So I think it's big. Like, you can't get blown out against North Carolina, of course. Like, that was ridiculous. But I don't know.
They're still running on us right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
They are. Oh my God, that's funny.
Oh man.
Hey, did you see ESPN's FPI today?
Today? No.
Yeah.
Was there something new? I mean, I saw it last week when they updated it. Is that what you're referencing?
Was it last week, or I could have swore it came out today? I might be wrong. Where they said that we're favored against everybody except for Alabama.
Oh, I haven't seen that. No.
Yeah, apparently we're favored to win against everybody except Alabama. They gave us an 18.5% chance to do that.
Okay.
Of course, Central Connecticut State 99.5. Right. We have 5 games with 80% or more, 3 games with 70 plus. But Pitt is at 64, and we have a 52.3 chance against UNC. So basically, they got us going 11-1.
Right, right. What did they have NC State at? Do you know?
52.3.
Oh.
That's close.
So basically they're saying that we should be able to beat North Carolina, and Pitt could go either way.
Right. Yeah. I mean, those, with probability stuff, anything from 35 to like 65 essentially is a toss up. But yeah, I mean, and FPI, I know they had Miami ranked higher than North Carolina. So I guess that makes some sense.
Yeah, we're at 10. They're at 14, I believe it was.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, will Las Vegas necessarily have Miami favored going into that game? Right now they don't. So we'll see how that looks going into that game. But I don't know. I don't know what to think about that game. I want to see North Carolina, to be honest.
I do too, because I mean they only really have like Howell coming back on offense, right? And they have some
Which
defense guys coming back. It is a big deal, but
they only have Howell coming back.
Well, I mean, you don't have that line. I mean, it's a whole new line. So I mean, they gotta, you know what I mean?
Well, the receivers, they're 2 big playmaking receivers, and then they're 2 running backs. They got to replace those guys. So it is a question mark. I'm a big Sam Howell fan, though. Like, I think the guy's a total stud.
Oh, he is good, yeah.
But yeah, and it looks like on paper that defense is going to be pretty good. So we'll see if that's the case. But
plus Mac Brown's own Manny, so
yeah,
he's
that's an interesting rivalry.
Yeah.
That's an interesting.
Oh man, that was funny. So David, before we get into, we wanted to talk some recruiting as well. But just to kind of wrap this up for your season projections, what's your projection for this season in terms of record and everything?
I waffle back and forth between 9-3 and 10-2, if I'm being honest. And I honestly, I just want to say 10-2 because I think it's fair to put that expectation on Manny going into this year, right?
Mhm.
It's your third
Mhm.
year. It's time to show what you can do. So I will say 10-2, and I think that's fair. Like that allows you to drop 2 games, and like I said, you should win every other game.
Yeah.
What do
Okay.
you guys
You heard
think?
it here first.
I'm curious.
Honestly, I'm kind of I've been saying 9-3 for the
Yeah.
longest time. Just for me, I mean, on recent history and everything, that's kind of what my stance is.
What 3 games worry you?
I mean, UNC, Alabama, and then the third is just kind of a toss up, like some sort of game that is closer than it
Right.
should be, and we just end up losing.
Right.
We had a couple of those games last year.
Yeah.
De'Ara King led us against NC State. Oh, we lost Robert, but those are kind of the games that I'm thinking of that I'm more concerned about.
To me, and it all changes during the course of the season, but to me, it's clearly like Alabama's in their own tier, right?
Yeah.
North Carolina's next tier. To me, the clear third best team to me is NC State. I mean, that could change again, but I think that third team debate is a real one. But to me, I think NC State is probably, like, roster-wise on paper, to me, they're the third best team. And it's interesting that Miami has to play North Carolina and NC State back-to-back. So, I mean, that could end up being tough.
Yeah. Do we play NC State at home, or is that one
It's
away?
home.
Just
Yep.
that is home?
Miami
Okay.
doesn't have back-to-back road games this year on the schedule,
Yeah.
which is a big deal.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know we lost my co-host here for a minute, but I
No
thought
worries.
we could get into a little game that I really wanted. I was looking forward to you playing. So I
Yeah.
know you're all about the over-unders
Let's go.
on the podcast. So
Yeah.
we're going to do a little bit of an over-under with recruiting.
Okay.
So I'm excited for you to see this. So the first over-under, the 22 class for Miami will finish 13th or better. Over under that.
I will say, oh, that's a good one. I'll say under.
Under? Okay.
I'll say 14-15.
You think it's like right at that border, right?
I think it's close. Yeah, that's a good
Okay.
number.
Okay. I'm doing, and I got my inner David Lake going.
It's a good one.
I gotta have the lines going. Okay. Next one. Miami will take over under 3.5 cornerbacks this year.
I think it's going to be over. I think things are looking good for Fegans, and I do think they're going to keep pushing for the Henderson twins. So that would be 4. I mean, who knows if you never know if it gets to 4. If one of those guys feels like, I don't really want to be in a class with 4 corners. But I'll take the over there.
Okay. Last one. The Canes fans are always about the big names. So Miami will finish with over under 1.5 5 stars in the class.
Under. I think it's Shamar. I feel good about Shamar right now. But beyond him, I don't know if they can land another one. But getting 1 5-star, I mean, that's a big deal, man. Before last year, they hadn't really pulled many 5 stars.
Yeah.
So if you can get 1 5-star a class, that's a huge deal.
Yeah, absolutely. So, David, I kind of wanted to stick with these big name, high profile guys. We referenced defensive end as a position, where there's a lot of question marks. So I kind of wanted to talk more specifically about defensive line.
Sure.
So I was hoping you could rank these guys, these 5 guys, from most likely to come to least likely to come to Miami.
Okay.
So I got 5 names for you.
You take a stab at it. Yeah.
Okay. Shamar Stewart.
Okay.
Bear Alexander.
Okay.
Marvin Jones Jr., Anthony Lucas, and Nigel Kelly. So most likely, do you want to start with least likely or?
I'll start least likely, yeah. So least, I would go Bear.
Okay.
Next least, I would probably go Lucas.
Okay.
In the middle, I'll go Marvin.
Okay.
Second best chance, I'll go Nigel Leak, and then best chance Shamar.
Okay. And just kind of, I want to specifically ask you about Nigel Leak, just because I feel like when he decommitted from FSU, there's all this smoke of like, oh, he's coming to Miami. It's looking good for Miami. And I feel like there hasn't really been that much, how much of that is him like, just being in the process of recruiting versus like maybe it got turned down a little bit. He got turned off a little bit. Like what are your thoughts?
I don't think he's turned off at all. I think Miami's in the mix for sure. I mean, he went through a private workout with Jess Simpson. I think he visited Miami 3 times during the month of June, right? And I think it was all in the first half of June, if I remember correctly. I think what you touched on it though, and this goes like beyond Nigel League. I think this is happening around the country, and I think this is part of the reason why Miami's off to a slow start. I think in April, May, right, a lot of recruits were telling colleges in general, not just Miami, but colleges in general, I can't wait to visit your school. And I'm, once I make all these visits in June, I'm then going to commit in July, right? I think Miami was hearing this from a lot of kids. I'm not speaking specifically on Nigel Leak right now, but I think a lot of recruits were telling Miami this. I think a lot of recruits were telling colleges all over the country this type of stuff. I think as they started going through the month of June and seeing all these colleges, the recruits, frankly, were overwhelmed by what they saw, and they realized, hey, I probably need to take my time with this decision, which, let's be real, honestly, like what is the rush if we're being real about it? So I think that's kind of what's happening a little bit with Nigel Leak. He's going to go through the process, and you can't blame him, right? I mean, there's no reason for him to rush into anything. I still feel good about where Miami is with him right now. But yeah, he wants to see it play out. And, honestly too, like Miami needs to show him something this season. That's just how it is for these big time guys, and that goes for Shamar too. Like, I think everything is in a good spot with Shamar right now. But if Miami goes out and lays an egg this year, they're not going to get Shamar. That's just how it goes. So again, got to win 10 games, got to give them a reason to come.
Yeah. So I want to kind of shift over to the interior side. Obviously Zane Durant committed to Penn State, and I think that actually caught Miami by surprise.
It did. I mean, in the days leading up to it, it did. Because he kind of made it clear like he was coming after his visit, and he went home, thought about it, changed his mind, which make the best decision for you. So it was a bit of a surprise. But go ahead. Sorry, I cut you off.
Oh no, that's all good. Fine. David had like PTSD from that one. Like,
I mean, it caught me by surprise.
Yeah. So I was just going to ask, what do you think the board kind of looks like right now? Is there anyone that kind of hasn't been mentioned that you could see them going after?
Yeah, I think they're going to do some digging, right?
And obviously, I know you got to make some money on the insider stuff. So
no, you're good. I would tell you. I think they gotta watch some film. To be honest, I think Daniel Lyons. Daniel Lyons is a guy to know, obviously, from Homestead. The thing that makes that one interesting is Dante Anderson's also there, his teammate. I think around the country, schools like Daniel more than Dante, which makes that dynamic interesting in terms of, do you want to take both? Because for now, that's what it seems like you would have to do. But yeah, I mean, I think they, I think patience might be the key word again, because you might just sit tight and try and flip some guys too that are committed to schools. Let's say Miami does win 10 games. let's say a school, I don't know, some sort of SEC school goes out and has a bad season, you try and flip that guy. So I don't think they're just going to take guys that take guys. So right now, I think they're just kind of staying patient. And honestly, too, I think they're going to keep recruiting Zane. And, honestly, just my opinion, he's a better fit for what Miami does than what they do in the Big Ten. He's not the biggest guy, but he is twitchy, and that's the type of interior defensive lineman that Miami wants. So we'll see. We'll see how this all plays out. Again, it's July, so
yeah,
true that.
I mean, Miami comes out and beats Bama, or does something crazy.
Hey,
you never know what can happen.
If that happens, the whole board. I mean, yeah. I mean, then
just
you
explodes.
go. Yeah, I mean, you start swinging for the fences then.
All right.
I think too, Anthony Lucas, right? So Anthony Lucas doesn't want to be known as an interior guy, but he is. So we'll see how that plays out, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, right now, let's talk about. I think it's really funny because these two groups, I think, were two of the most needed on the defensive side, and one of them is scalding hot, the recruiting, and one of them I feel like is a little more shaky. And I don't know if you know where I'm going with this. The linebackers and cornerbacks. Yeah. So let's start with linebackers. Recently, we picked up a crystal ball. Wesley Besaint coming to Miami. I believe it was a Florida State insider, Josh Newberg.
Josh, yep.
What are your kind of thoughts? Because I feel like ever since the whole, like when he threw down the U during his FSU visit, that maybe, he left that visit early and came to Paradise Camp. I feel like it almost even pushed him away from FSU and maybe strengthened some ties with Miami.
It was a good sign for Miami. I'd say that.
Okay.
With Wesley, my thoughts on it are this. I think if signing day was today, I think he would pick Miami, right?
Yeah.
But I do think he wants to be patient. And I'm not saying this is happening, but, let's say as the fall progresses, some SEC powers miss on their top linebacker targets, right? I could see some SEC schools trying to get in the mix with Wesley and that emerging as Miami's top talent or top competition for Wesley. And, I could see it just like, for instance, being a Miami Texas A&M battle or something like that, because James Coley's at Texas A&M. He recruits Miami Central well. I don't think they're necessarily in the mix right now at all, but I think Wesley's just kind of taking his time with it, to be honest. But I think if he was committing today, Miami would be the pick. So
yeah, well, it's interesting to me too, because I feel like after Wesley and Devon Jackson, there's not really these talked about guys. So if we miss out on those guys, it's kind of similar to the defensive tackle,
right. And it looks like
situation.
Devon. I honestly don't know how to say it, Devon or Devin. I don't know the correct pronunciation, but I'll go Devin. Gabby just caught up with Devin, and I guess he's gonna take his time, right? And it looks like, just reading between the lines, reading the tea leaves, it looks like maybe things are trending away from Arizona State, right? Where it looked like Arizona State was the team to beat, but with all their pending stuff, who knows how that plays out. Now Oklahoma's in the mix. Now he's hoping to visit Texas. So we'll see. I mean, I do think he enjoyed his visit to Miami, and, his dad has a very good relationship with Garen Justice. So, and I'll say this too. Miami did bring in some linebackers in June and on official visits. And they, just eyeballing those guys, they sized them up and they were kind of, we're going to go in a different direction. So I personally like that philosophy. I think kind of a slept on issue over the past decade with Miami recruiting is they kind of settle too much. And that's a dangerous game in some ways because if you swing for the fence and miss, you got nothing, right? But I also don't want to fill up the roster with guys that are borderline Miami guys, right? If that makes sense. So I think in a way, Miami feels like they are a transfer portal destination. And so that's kind of a safety net in a way. If they whiff on their top tier guys that they do want. And while it's risky and that, it's going to get hardcore recruiting fans nervous, which I get, I think it is the right approach, in my opinion.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, you're right. Like at this stage, it's not necessarily a huge board. So
yeah.
But like, and like I'm not throwing shade or anything, but like Omar Graham, right? He committed to Florida State. He's a guy that kind of sized up, and they were like, okay, I think we're gonna go in a different direction.
Yeah, if we wanted him, he would have came, right?
I don't know about that, but they
vibe.
didn't necessarily, push. It was just kind of like, because the month of June was an evaluation time too.
Yeah.
So like in terms of just sizing guys up, they didn't know what guys looked like. And it's much different. Like you can't really tell frame and real size from just watching film. You got to see the guy in person. And so June was valuable in that regard. And I will say like Wesley and Devin Jackson are on a different, and I would say Tolan too, just from a frame wise, are on a different level than other linebackers they had coming in June.
Yeah.
So who do you think is a must get? I mean, just a player that's in the 2022 class, whether he's on our radar or not. I mean, who would be the guy that is needed in this class?
Yeah, I think this class, the must gets are all, to me, all on the defensive side in a way.
Okay.
I would put Wesley there. I think he's a big time linebacker. I honestly think he's a little underrated by the composite. Not much, but I do think he's underrated. Shamar, of course. Corner. I like the two guys they got. So yeah, I mean, I would probably start with those two guys, Shamar and Wesley. On offense, I know they really like Jaden Gibson.
Okay.
I think that's going to be tough, but they're certainly in the mix. They were blown away by his length when he visited there. So I think he'd be the one guy on offense I'd probably highlight.
Okay. And obviously, we're talking recruiting right now. But I think that something that Manny has always said for this season in particular is that they're saving some spots, right, for transfer portal guys.
Sure.
Where do you see where do you see him kind of saving those spots for, so to speak?
I think it's to be determined, to be honest.
Okay.
Again, I think, let's just say Miami had 25 spots, right? If they could get all 25 of their top targets, high school level guys, they would not use the transfer portal. I think the transfer portal is more about not settling for high school kids. So it's to be determined. We got to see how they do filling up the class. I think we'll have a better idea come November, December, when we can really tell how the class is shaping up. But yes, I think Manny would tell you he will save spots for transfers. But I think he would also tell you, ideally, he doesn't have to. So we'll see. I mean, it's all about how well they close, in my opinion.
Okay. Well, David, we really appreciate you taking the time to be on here. I just wanted it was a lot of fun. I had one last question before we let you go, and it has to do with a topic we're going to be talking about later after you're off, and it's the whole NIL situation.
Okay.
I want to specifically ask you, obviously, a lot of the guys that are maybe the big names, the blue chip, like 5-star guys, they have an opportunity to make a lot of money. But how big is it when you look and you see what was the name of the martial
America's
arts?
top
team. When you see a scenario like that,
Yeah.
of, you know, giving money to essentially the entire scholarship roster, how big is that? And when it comes into play for recruiting,
I think that was revolutionary. You know, I think you're going to see a lot of schools copycat that, because I do think that's the model moving forward for NIL. And to me, the key now, like, that was great to get the ball rolling by American Top Team. Huge pledge, 500,000. That's awesome. Now to me, the next step is who else, what other local businesses are going to throw in that pot too, because you know it's essentially a fund, right, that they're starting. You know, bring back the U, and you know, can that base? I mean, I don't know if we call it a salary or not, but that base amount that each player gets, can that rise? You know, from 6,000 that it is now to 20,000, right? I mean, that would be a huge jump, but how high can the local businesses throw in and get that fund up to? So, and you know, like I said, like, you're going to see all these big time programs start to do this type of stuff too. So I do like that Miami has been extremely forward thinking and ready to pounce on this NIL stuff. I think that's a good sign. And I do think recruits notice, but we are early in these stages. And, you know, let's say Georgia rolls something out where some business, you know, starts a fund of $3 million, then, you know, what is Miami's at the end of the
chump
day?
change.
So, right. Yeah. Yeah.
So it is going to be, it's like anything in recruiting. It's going to be an arms race. But I like the commitment that the local businesses are showing to Miami. I think that's awesome and should be commended. And yeah, I think, you know, do I necessarily think this is going to be a game changer thing for Miami where they instantly vault into, you know, Alabama, Clemson, Georgia status? No, but I do think it can help Miami keep more guys home and be a consistent 10-win team year after year after year. And when you do that, you can potentially level up to be that, you know, Alabama, Clemson, Georgia type. So my biggest thing right now is just consistency, consistently winning 10 games. And, you know, a guy like Shamar Stewart, I said this on the podcast, I'll be interested in what business throws in a deal to one of these freshmen. Like a James Williams, a Leonard Taylor, a Jake Garcia, maybe even Elijah Arroyo, right? To me, that would be a big sign for these recruits where it's like, man, these guys got a pretty good, who knows what a good deal is for a freshman, but these guys got a pretty good deal for a freshman. I could get that if I go to Miami. So, and if a business did that, they'd be taking a risk, right? If we're being honest, because you don't know what you got as a freshman normally. I mean, Leonard Taylor is going to be a beast. James Williams is going to be a beast. You know, like, I feel like those are locks, to be honest. But from a business perspective, they don't want to pay for something they haven't seen yet. So it's going to be interesting, and it's fun to cover.
I believe it. I believe it. Well, David, thank you so much for coming on, man. This was
absolutely
an absolute.
It was a lot of fun,
man.
I appreciate it.
You're welcome back anytime. Oh, thanks, man. We appreciate it.
Appreciate
it. It was fun. Have me on anytime.
Oh,
right, we sure will.
We will
David,
take you up on that.
Matt will. I appreciate it. David, you have a great time, man. We appreciate you coming on, and everybody go listen to the podcast Inside the U. Of course, go subscribe to Inside. What is it? Inside the your website. InsideTheU.com.
Through the Smoke podcast.
Yeah, you got it. Thank you.
You need to do it. All right, buddy. Take care.
Okay. All right, man. So should we take a quick break and bring on our next guest?
Quick break and bring the guy on. He's waiting. We don't want to keep waiting anymore.
I know. Let's do it.
We're back from break, and let's go ahead and bring on our man right now.
What is going on? We are now joined by Adam
There he is.
Arnott. Adam is a former center for the Miami Hurricanes. He's dealing a lot with the NIL stuff right now. Adam,
Yes,
we're blessed to have you, man. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Thank you guys for having me on. I mean, you guys don't know what a pleasure this is for me, right? We're talking Canes football on Tuesday night. We all got our orange and green on, man. This is awesome.
That's it.
So,
Yeah,
yeah,
man, I love
excited.
the polo.
I put this on. I was like, I'm hoping that you guys got something on, so I see we're all on the same page here, right?
Oh, yeah.
Let's
Every Tuesday, my
thanks for
man.
having me on.
We really appreciate you coming on, man.
So
Absolutely. I mean, so much is going on, right? We got a ton to talk about and a lot of questions and maybe more questions than answers for sure, I'd say.
Probably. I believe so. I believe so. So Adam, I reached out to you because I heard you on Manny Navarro's podcast, Wide Right. So if you haven't checked that out yet, definitely check it out. Adam brought a lot of knowledge. I mean, he answered as many questions as he could because this topic is so new and constantly changing. But that's why I was like, man, I got to have this guy on to talk to him.
Because that was day one. Now we're 14 days in now.
Yeah. So from that interview to now, how much has changed in your eyes?
Well, so obviously I heard you guys talking to David about this, the American Top Team deal. Obviously that was huge. In terms of what's changed, I can't say that a ton has been answered because, think about this from a compliance department's perspective, right? For the past, 50 years or whatever, since however long athletic department compliance departments have existed, they've been looking at precedent and previous NCAA bylaw violations to figure out how to enforce this stuff. Right. And if there's nowhere for them to now look back on and say, okay, well, this is how the NCAA handled this situation. This was the infraction. This was the punishment. It was kind of all written out. So compliance departments are now becoming interpreters of the state statute that's giving these athletes NIL rights, as opposed to just going off of previous issues. And here in the past 2 weeks, we don't have any huge cases that are initiating precedent. So not a ton has been answered yet in terms of exactly what the gray areas are going to be, where things are going to be considered afoul of the law. Not a ton of that has been answered, but we have had some huge developments in terms of players signing deals. Obviously, the American Top Team thing is massive. I think that's a huge show of support from the local business. And as David mentioned, that's just going to start an arms race in terms of other schools trying to find similar deals that they can show to players, hey, if you come here, we've got a strong community that'll support you as well. And, right now, obviously, that's mostly, Miami setting the tone there. We haven't seen a lot of other schools do that, if any. But that's certainly something that will play out. So, in terms of what's changed in the past 2 weeks, can't say a ton in terms of guidance, but certainly a lot of development in the deal's perspective. And that'll continue to roll moving forward. I do expect somewhat of a slowdown as we get towards the end of July, going into August, because, these guys are here to win a championship, right? They came here to play football and put an excellent product in the field. And when they go into training camp, this is not their priority, nor should it be their priority. That's not why they came to school here. So I think we'll see a bit of a slowdown as we go into the end of July, beginning of August, as camp starts, and then going into the season, as they get more into a regular schedule as opposed to the I was going to say 2-a-days, but I'm not even sure if they do 2-a-days anymore. The camp schedule, basically, that's going to be tough.
Yeah. So Adam, obviously July 1st, floodgates open, clock strikes midnight, deals are being made. Derek King is one of those guys making deals, Bubba Bolden, some other Canes as well. I know that you had referenced and you had said that you weren't really surprised that this was the case, that, you kind of saw that it was going to be hectic like this. So 100%. From your perspective though, were you preparing for this?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, I've been preparing for this since California initially passed the Fair Pay to Play Act. I believe that was 2 years ago now. So if we think back, California is actually the one that got the ball rolling in all of this. And they were the first state to say, hey, we're going to allow athletes to monetize their name, image, and likeness rights. But their effective date was 2023. Thankfully, we had guys like Chip Lamarca and Darren Heitner over here in Florida who said, no, that's not going to do it. We're going to bump this up to 2021, which is effectively what made us the pioneers kind of leading the charge in all of this. But really, the ball started rolling, a year and a half, 2 years ago back in California. It was ultimately only a matter of time before the whole walls came crashing down and it was open in all 50 states. Because if you're the NCAA, think about this from a amateurism perspective, your favorite term, right? You need everyone on a level playing field. Like, the whole premise of the NCAA is to ensure collegiate athletics in a uniform fashion where everyone's governed under the same rules. And if you have guys going to Florida that can monetize their rights of publicity and make money in 2021, and no one else is able to tap into that until 2023 or at all, you have a huge problem in terms of recruiting advantages. And right, it becomes a huge issue. And that kind of like rips the carpet out from under the entire NCAA's position that they stand on. Like, that's why they exist, is to promote, or they say they exist, is to promote fairness and the love of the game and preserve amateurism and all that. If all the athletes in college are on a different playing field in terms of who can make money and who can't, that's completely destroyed.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
So I kind of wanted to ask you specifically, University of Miami had partnered with Open Doors, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can you kind of just, like, for people that don't really understand, me, one of them, explain like the purpose of Open Doors and like how they help the student athletes, or if they do, for that matter?
So Open Doors is a really interesting subject because, another topic it's really gray right now. We're working through some issues with them in the state of Florida. So you got to break Open Doors up into two buckets. On one side, Open Doors acts as basically a portal of information between the student athlete, the compliance department, and the school officials, where it serves as a form of transparency in regards to the deals that are being done. So a student athlete can take a picture or snap a PDF or scan it of a deal that they're doing. They can upload it onto Open Doors. It'll be sent to the compliance department. The compliance department can review it. So in a lot of senses, it's a tool used by the athletic compliance department and the student athletes to communicate and make sure they're aware of all the pertinent NIL rules, some school-specific restrictions, right? Like UM is prohibiting gambling, adult entertainment, pharmaceuticals, that type of stuff. So it's kind of like a manual per se. It allows student athletes to know the rules, make sure they're following them, and also as a portal so that they can send the contracts and get them cleared. Now, the other side of Open Doors is a separate brand called Open Doors Deals, still under the Open Doors parent company umbrella, but they claim that it's a siphoned off separate entity aside from the educational and informational side of Open Doors. The Deals platform is an actual marketplace where brands can sign up and say, hey, I'm interested in sponsoring this player. And they can literally send an offer to a player through the app, and the player can accept or deny that through the app. So that's like an actual physical marketplace where they're like, hey, I own this car dealership. I'm interested in sponsoring you, Pete player. I send you an offer. You can look at the terms of the deal and you can accept or reject it. Now, if I'm going to mention like the gray area that I see in the issue with that, me from an attorney perspective, I'm thinking, okay, well, what point is a contract formed? What point is a contract signed? And who's looking over the intellectual property rights that a player is giving up in that deal? I don't think that any app or click to accept terms and conditions kind of thing is ever a good scenario for a player, because they're literally giving up exclusivity and carving out areas of their intellectual property that they're licensing to a brand. Like, that has huge implications in terms of monetary value down the line. If you give away too much, you've diluted your brand. You may not be able to license that to a different sponsor in the future. Like, you might be agreeing to an exclusive in the beverage category from, let's go big, let's say Gatorade, right? And then all of a sudden a hard seltzer or something wants to sponsor them. The player's thinking, oh, absolutely, I'd love to be sponsored by this hard seltzer too. I'm not already sponsored by a hard seltzer. Let's do it. And then little did you know, in the deal that you accepted with Gatorade, it had exclusivity for all beverages, and then you're completely cut out of future beverage opportunities, right? So my kind of lawyer brain is thinking, okay, well, the ease of the Open Doors deals platform is awesome, but like, what we're dealing with, I don't think should be looked at from an ease perspective. Like, we have to do this the right way to make sure that you're not giving up too much. So that's the deals marketplace. You know, there is some gray area right now in terms of whether or not that's allowed. There's actually a rumor that UF terminated their relationship with Open Doors. I don't think that's been confirmed yet, but that's been circulating over the past couple of days, because in the Florida NIL statute, it says that entities whose purpose is to support or benefit the university cannot cause or direct any compensation to the student athlete. Now, if you just plainly read the text of that, that's probably describing like the UM Sports Hall of Fame or like the UM Hurricane Booster Club, right? Like those entities very clearly exist to support and benefit the institution. That's undebatable, right? What is debatable is whether or not Open Doors as a brand supports or benefits the educational institution, because the school is paying to Open Doors hundreds of thousands of dollars to have the Open Doors platform for the informational and compliance side, right? So like they're clearly performing a service for the school to assist the school in all of this NIL stuff. Whether or not that can be interpreted to be Open Doors supporting and benefiting the institution, thereby blocking them from dealing compensation to the players, which the marketplace does, remains to be seen, right? But that's a question that a lot of people in compliance departments and outside, you know, there's differing opinions as to which side is true, but it's certainly a question that needs to be asked. Like, if it is determined that the Open Doors deals platform is causing compensation to the athletes, which it seems like it is because they're a functional marketplace, is that violative of the restriction in the statute that says that organizations who support the institution can't cause compensation to players? I don't know. I mean, there's no clear answer on that yet. These are all cases of first impression, right? So we don't know, but it's certainly something to think about because, you know, depending on how strictly you read and interpret the words of the statute, it could violate it. It's definitely possible. So, you know, we're honestly not sure how that's going to play out. I know Miami just switched to Open Doors from Influencer. I think it was June 29th or June 30th. It was like the 11th hour minute right before we started. We actually had been, I say we as in UM, obviously, right? The UM had been with a company called Influencer, which is basically Open Doors' biggest rival. They kind of do a lot of the same stuff, educational and compliance stuff on that side. But I don't believe Influencer does the marketplace side. I think that's an Open Doors deals thing. Gotcha. So, you know, so we'll have to see how that plays out. If you want my opinion, I'm not sure that the statute was intended to block out Open Doors in that sense. Like, I think it was more so for, you know, like your UM Sports Hall of Fame, your booster clubs, like, because those entities clearly exist solely for the purpose of benefiting the institution. Like, they don't want that type of kind of incestuous relationship between the people who are working for the school indirectly, and then those people are causing compensation to the players. Like, that's really what they're trying to prevent. But, you know, this goes back to the NCAA bylaw stuff. Like, the compliance departments can't look back at previous infractions and say, oh, well, this is how the NCAA determined it. This is how it came out. This is how we're going to apply it. Like, they have nothing to look back on. So, you know, we'll see how that plays out in terms of which side of the ball that falls on. I'm also really curious to see what happens with UF and Open Doors, because obviously, you know, the big three here in Florida are pretty much intertwined in terms of what they're going to be allowed to get away with. If something is clearly found to be a violation at UF, I don't think that UM or FSU is going to be able to just turn a blind eye and act like it doesn't exist when they're all kind of in the same space doing the same stuff.
So Adam, I was just about to post another question. I had this same question. We'll get back to Bergie's question in a second. Using the Miami logo. So
it's a no-go.
It's a no-go. So De'Aaron King, he's signing those helmets. He's sending them out to fans. All those helmets are going to be blank. or not have anything?
So in regards to the helmets, that is a little bit different because that's like a piece of memorabilia, which they are allowed to autograph items, right? They can't sell like game worn memorabilia until their eligibility ends. I know that Miami put that rule in place, but in regards to like, the big issue is like social posts, because that can be circulated everywhere. UM basically just doesn't want this. There you go. That's the other side. This trademark right here, like this is worth so much to UM in IP value. UM doesn't want guys throwing the U logo on anything that they're associated with, because UM doesn't want to be by proxy associated with whatever the brand that they're signed with is.
Makes sense.
Yeah, right. So the school said that they are going to allow players to try and get licensing deals with certain brands to try and bring in the U into that deal. I haven't seen that happen yet. The best way to get away with it is if you have a player in his full jersey, like a game photo per se, you got to scrub the U on the helmet, you got to scrub the U right here on the chest, and you scrub the Adidas logo. And if you wipe the Adidas logo and the U's and you're just in an orange and green jersey, they can't trademark, those color, like they can trademark their colors, right? But they're not going to go after a player who scrubbed all of the logos out of it and is just in the orange and green uniform. So like I've talked to the compliance department and they're cool with that, but they definitely don't want people rampantly using, the U logo and stuff without their permission, because that's just a really slippery slope. Like they need to be allowed to police the stuff that they have trademarked and have put years into protecting the brand value of.
So let's say Derek King breaks the touchdown record this year. Can he keep that ball, sign it, and sell it? Or does he have to wait till he's done with the year?
I would say that would probably fall into the category of waiting until you're done with the year, because that would be like game worn, game used.
Okay. Gotcha.
I'm not sure why UM's made that distinction, but I remember, reading through the ML compliance guide that UM sent out. Game used memorabilia is not going to be allowed to be sold during the athlete's eligibility. That'll have to be after. So that seems, because it's like game used, I would say that probably would have to wait until afterwards. Normal autograph signings, that type of stuff, totally fine. They can get paid for autograph signings and everything like that. But I don't think, he wouldn't be able to take like a Canes jersey from the FSU game, right? Like sign the back of the jersey and then auction off immediately. That's not going to be allowed, at least currently per Miami's rules. Could that change tomorrow? Absolutely. And that's kind of like the beauty of all this, right? Like we're dealing with this. I'm honestly dealing with this at an hour by hour basis. Every day something's different. Things are changing all the time. And that's going to, it's going to continue to be that way easily through this year, likely through the next 2 to 3 years, because it's going to take violations in order for us to get a proper vision of the guardrails.
Yeah, because
we're not going to know. Exactly.
Right. Yeah. You're not going to know what's a violation until it's a violation.
Exactly. We have nothing to look back on. Like we have to go through these issues in order to get to the right space where we can look and say, all right, this is okay. This is not. We know that's not okay because the school came down this way on it.
So,
but I think I know the answer to this one, but I'm going to have you help me out with this one, Adam. Is a recruit allowed to entertain an NIL offer before he signs with a school, or is it open market from the get-go? I believe go ahead. Sorry.
No, I think the Florida High School State Athletic Association today, maybe last night, said that's a no-go for high schoolers. High schoolers cannot entertain NIL activity in Florida. That will forfeit their eligibility for the year that they do that. So if you're a senior and you enter into a deal, you're done your senior year, right? So if you're a high schooler and you're watching this, don't do this. It's not worth it. Wait until you get to college, and people like American Top Team will make sure that you're able to have an opportunity to make money when you get to college, right? So there's awesome opportunities once you get to UM. As soon as your high school eligibility is done, you can certainly start going after stuff, but it's not worth it for a Florida high schooler to potentially jeopardize a year of their eligibility by, doing something like this. And the crazy part is we have to think about the rights that these athletes now have is not something new and foreign that's like being created to give these athletes an edge
Right.
Yeah.
because they're football players or basketball players or women's volleyball players. Like every other person in the United States has always been able to do this. And now we're just bringing college athletes up to the place where every other person in the US was able to do. Like any of us could become influencers if we wanted to, or if I was better looking, right? So it's like we could all do that if we wanted to. But for some reason, there was just this weird concept that like this has to be done for the love of the game. It's going to destroy college football. And in the Supreme Court cases, the NCAA cites these crazy metrics and studies that they claim they've done where a huge percentage of people will stop watching college football. And now it's like, okay, we'll see, right? Like, are you going to stop watching? Feel free to do it. We're just giving these guys the same rights of publicity that everyone else has had, either by state law. So some states have right of publicity laws that give people those rights, and if not, by common law. So every state has had some form of giving people these rights, and student athletes were the only class of persons in the U.S. that had this stripped away from them and didn't
Totally
have these
ridiculous.
rights.
Yep.
It's insane. It's absolutely insane.
Adam, the more I hear you talk, the more questions I have.
I love it, man. I love it. And that's good, right? And that's the crazy part. Like every time we answer a question or, think of a hypothetical, it stems into a tributary of 7 more questions because.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. So, this is one that someone asked me recently. They're like, well, I think it might've been Manny actually on the Wide Right podcast. So what happens if, Al's used car dealership on Dixie Highway wants to sponsor a player, but they don't have enough money to do it. But they'd like to give a star player a $50,000 deal. What happens if Booster Bob goes to Al's used car dealership and it's like, hey, Al, I know you want to sponsor a player. I know you don't have the cash. I'll give you $49,000 if you put up $1,000, and then you can give him a $50,000 deal from your car dealership.
Mm-hmm.
Is UM gonna audit the source of the funds from that sponsorship? Like, how deep is the investigation going to go?
Does that fall
in
on
terms
UM
of,
too?
We don't know, right? So UM is supposed to be the decipher and the person or the entity that is making the decisions as to what's allowed and what's not. But all of this is stemming from 3 pages of double-spaced text in the Florida law, right? So we don't know how deep are they going to go to investigate the source of the funds if the deal seems outlandish. Like, is Dan Lambert, an American Top Team, going to get audited, or are they going to request to see funds for him furnishing over $500,000 a year, right? Probably not, because he owns an extremely successful business. But the case stands, where is the line there? Like, if a business decides that they want to shell out a bunch of money, are we going to see those types of relationships? Like, I'm sure that those types of things will probably be attempted. Some of them may pass through, some of them may get rejected, but we don't know how the enforcement's going to look in that case, or whether or not that's even going to be investigated to such a minute level where they would discover that.
Yeah. So, Adam, I got a random question that I kind of just thought of,
Sure.
just from hearing you speak and everything. So, bowl games, those are obviously all sponsored, different companies. For instance, I know Allstate sponsors one of them. What happens if, in the Allstate, whatever game it is, Sugar Bowl or whatever, what have you, Progressive, someone who's like another car insurance company, wants to sponsor a player and have them do like a stream during halftime, or wear a Progressive headband or something like something crazy like that. Like, how will that affect that? Like, do you see bowl games seeing something as something that might be,
So the bowl games are an interesting question. So as a blanket rule, athletes are not allowed to partake in NIL activities during competition. So that's going to be a no-go off the bat, because that's during competition, obviously. Manny asked me a very similar question about the bowl game, where he was saying, what if a player that was planning on sitting out for a bowl game is paid by a bowl game to play in that bowl game to boost the ad value and the ratings, right? And that's an interesting question. I don't think that that's going to be allowed, because if you break that down, that is an entity paying a player to play. And pay to play is not allowed. That's where you get into a booster giving someone money to go to a certain school. That's kind of along the same lines. there has to be a clear separation in terms of why the sponsorship is being done. Is the sponsorship being done to get a player to compete in a collegiate athletic event? That is not going to be allowed.
Okay. Okay.
I see the wheels turning.
So, I know
it's so crazy. Like, and we've been sitting here for, the NCAA's existed for 110 years or something like that. And we're talking about stuff that was illegal 15 days ago. It's crazy. Now we're sitting here talking about, okay, what are the different ways that guys can get paid legally? A lot of guys are asking if the American Top Team deal is pay to play. And I think the answer is absolutely not. And they have nothing to do with the university. They're not giving the university any money. They're not benefiting the university. They're completely making free market sponsorship opportunities to the players that they'd like to make sponsorship opportunities to. I don't think there's anything wrong with American Top Team's deal in the way that they've approached that. I absolutely commend them. I think the Lamberts have done an amazing thing, and that's going to really build a sense of community. Like, they've got Jorge Masvidal and other Miami guys heavily promoting that. And that's where Miami can really excel. Like, we can build a huge sense of community here between local businesses and really bring back the U like they want and foster that relationship in the whole city. I'm not sure if you guys saw, the Florida Panthers now are actually soliciting student athletes to advertise the Florida Panthers on their social media. They're going to wear merch. They're going to promote it on social media. I think that's a phenomenal idea. Like, you're crossing over the same target demographic. The fans are sports fans that live in Miami anyway. That's an absolutely amazing idea. So I would love to see more brands like that are really focused on building the community aspect, getting into this space, because that's a two-way street. That benefits the athlete, and it also hugely benefits the brand.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we're kind of talking about this just strictly from a Miami Hurricanes football perspective. Obviously,
definitely a game changer.
Miami is a football school. Even though recently, we haven't been one of the better teams. But to say the least.
We're a lot better than when I was on the team, so that's for sure. We're a lot better now. So
yeah,
that is true. That is true.
Yeah, and so I think there's a huge opportunity for this to help Miami. But how do you see this helping sports that maybe aren't as athletes in sports that maybe aren't viewed as much? I saw there was a gymnast who recently got I don't know if it was $1 million deal. Yeah, the LSU gymnast. How do you see that panning out?
I think that this is more of a game changer for non-revenue producing sports than revenue producing sports.
Yeah.
I think this is more important for women's sports, especially the opportunities that are here, than even men's basketball and men's football. If we're just going to isolate those two. If you look at the top 10 collegiate athletes in terms of social media engagement and ad value, 8 of the 10 are women, because they have those women have become experts at monetizing their personal brand, or before they could monetize it, cultivating their personal brand, creating engaging content, and building up huge followings because they post engaging content. So if you look at, I'm not sure if you guys have heard of the Cavender twins, I think it's the top two most attractive in the space in terms of ad value and partnership value are 2 twin women's basketball players from Fresno State named Hannah and Haley Cavender. They have huge social media followings, and they struck deals at midnight with a huge billboard in Times Square at midnight on July 1st for Boost Mobile. So, I mean, it doesn't get much bigger than that. The other thing to think about is, if you're in a sport where you don't traditionally have sponsors or attract the eyes, that are going to bring in the brands, the athletes that are in those sports now have the opportunity to show fans their personal side and create a brand off of that, right? So if a women's basketball player loves, let's say cooking, that women's basketball player can start posting content about cooking and showing that side of her personality that's not just the women's basketball player. The people that are following her for being a women's basketball player are already following her. Now she has the chance to tap into a different demographic of eyes where she can target people who are into cooking. Like, she can build a brand and connect with sponsors in the cooking space. Show the people what else is there to the athlete. Like, we already know that we love watching guys play football on Saturday. We already know that they play football on Saturday because they post pictures playing football on Saturday. Show me what's going on that I don't know. Show me the other side of you and the other side of your personality. That has huge value. And I think that just a lot of women in general are better at cultivating engaging content because they're more interactive. A lot of guys struggle, I think, to almost like let the guard down, for better or worse, in terms of providing an engaging persona for an advertiser. So I think that provides an opportunity for women especially, and anyone that's in sport that doesn't have eyes immediately attracted to them from a sponsorship perspective, to grow their brand organically through interests that they have even outside of their sport. So I think this is even more game changing for non-revenue producing sports, and especially women's sports. I think the opportunities for female athletes is going to be huge. Yeah, as it should be.
And, kind of going back to the Canes too, I actually think it was on the Through the Smoke podcast when they were talking about the NIL. How many of these guys that kind of left early to be like fifth round picks or whatever, how many of them would have stayed? I mean, you played for the Miami Hurricanes. I'm sure that there was guys that left early that probably, if they stayed another year, they could have been higher draft picks. How big do you think that this will be, for some of those guys? Like, I think back to like Trajan Bandy, for instance, a guy that he left early because, he wanted to make some money, and I don't blame him. How big is that for guys like that?
This is massive, because if you think about what is likely the number one driver of why guys leave early, it's because they come from areas of financial hardship or financial distress. And this is an immediate need to solve a long-term, familial issue that they are now in a position to completely absolve if they go to the league and even get the first big check, right, where they can give money to the family. Like, there's guys, even when I played, there was guys who were giving whatever small stipend check that they got back to their families out of necessity. And if you remove the situation that is oftentimes forcing guys to leave, there's not as many reasons to leave. Like, if that pressure is pulled away, a lot of guys might think, well, I could stay here. I can get paid $6,000 this year from American Top Team and whatever other sponsors that I have, and I can graduate next year. I have some sort of financial stability. Like, this is going to be a steady $6,000 a year extra income. Like, the wheels start turning. You're like, okay, well, maybe I don't have to leave early just to go make money. Like, I could stay, graduate, be done, have my degree, because we know the average NFL career is like 2.7 years. It's less than 3 years. You cannot make enough money in 2.7 years in the league, even remotely enough to sustain for the rest of your life. Like, football is so temporary. Guys forget that way too quickly. You have less than 3 years on average to make enough money to live for the next 60 years of your life. And that's not possible. So you need a degree. If you have the opportunity to finish out get your degree, make $6,000 plus a year if you're on scholarship guaranteed, I think that, the guys that were going to go top 10 first round, those guys are going to go anyway because they're destined for unbelievable things athletically, and they were blessed and gifted with that stuff. I don't think that that's going to change. But some of the guys that are maybe like on the fence, they're not quite where they would want to be in terms of draft stock. They're thinking, okay, I could stay, but I'm also really strapped. Like, I need to help my family. This is a huge game-changing opportunity for me. I think that we're going to see some of those guys sit back and think, okay, I can keep this financial income. I can get my degree. Then I can go begin the next part of my career. And then when that ends, I have my degree and I'm ready to start the next chapter of my life. That's definitely something worth considering. And I do think that that's going to have an impact. How huge it's going to be, I'm not sure. I don't think it's going to be for the first rounders, but it's going to have an impact, as it should. It removes the biggest driver that causes, stress and worry and a need for these guys to leave.
Yep, absolutely. Totally agree with that.
And
Yeah,
so
because I can see the late rounders staying.
Yeah.
You know.
Exactly. Like if you're, 5th, 6th, 7th, potentially UDFA, like you're thinking, okay, I could make for sure $6,000 here, finish my degree, and then potentially go higher next year, right? Like there's a good chance that you're going to go higher next year, or risk it and then have to come back and finish my degree. Now, UM is super, super good about letting players come back to finish their degree. I commend UM so much for that. They do so much for letting guys come back and finish out their degree. We have an awesome program for letting guys finish that out. But how many people want to go back to undergrad after playing in the NFL? I mean, that is like a huge ask from an emotional perspective, from a workload perspective, like transitioning from being a professional athlete to going back to undergrad. That's a huge change. So I completely think that this is going to be really beneficial, especially for those 5th, 6th, 7th rounders, maybe undrafted free agents that we're talking about.
Yeah. Absolutely. And so, we didn't even talk about this yet, but you obviously represent Ryan Rigoni. I don't even know the correct word, like represent, how to phrase it.
Yeah. So I mean, at heart, I'm an attorney, right? So I just work on from a contractual perspective, representing their legal interests and working on the contract stuff. But yeah, so I work on the contracts for the podcast, the King and Rigoni show that they've got coming out real soon. It's super exciting. They've already got a number of awesome sponsors. We've done deals with CrossFit Key Largo. We've done deals with Josh's Premium Meats, which is going to be the exclusive butcher shop for their podcast. That's going to be great.
Nice.
Ryan's an excellent cook. He's really into cooking. So you're going to be seeing a lot of awesome content from him with Josh's Premium Meats. I think that's an awesome way for him to showcase his skills off the field, like we were talking about earlier. But yeah, so in terms of represent in a legal and contractual capacity. Yeah. But yeah, the work I'm doing is, really legal at heart.
Yeah, okay. Well, and obviously too, if Ryan ever wants to come on, we'd love to have him on and we can talk everything. I feel like right now, like specifically with what Ryan and Derek are doing, I feel like, you look at football and it's a sport with 11 guys are on the field at the same time. You're in full uniform. You're wearing a helmet. People don't really see your face. So it's kind of a big thing that they're starting a podcast. People get to see their personalities. I don't know Ryan Rigoni or Derek King personally, but I'm obviously going to tune in. So I think that that's a really smart thing to do. And I think it's going to open the door for more opportunities. And especially for Ryan, who's like a former walk-on who earned a scholarship, right? I mean, I think it's going to be big. That's awesome.
100%. It circles back to exactly what we just talked about, with showing people the other side of the athlete, that they don't get a chance to see it. It's like helmet syndrome, right? All football players are completely covered. This doesn't happen to basketball players because they're out in the open, they're apparent. It doesn't happen to sports where they're not covered up. In terms of like a personal branding perspective, it is way more difficult for football players to monetize this and make this a household name because you're literally covered all of the time just by the nature of the game.
Yeah.
So this is going to give people an opportunity to see the rest of the person that they love to watch as a football player. And I think that's a really engaging opportunity. People who are fans of the sport can become fans of the person. Like, we're going to get to know the people that are behind the moments that we love so much on Saturdays. And I think that's super valuable and adds a ton to what they can monetize and offers a lot of awesome content for Canes fans and, fans in general to engage with.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Adam, we really appreciate you coming on. You gave a lot of insight to everything going on, as much as you could, because this is a changing situation. Like you said,
100%.
Hour to hour, minute to minute, second to second. So obviously, man, anytime you want to come on and talk some more NIL, we would love to have you on, man.
Or even just Canes football.
Or
I know
even
you got to be a huge football fan.
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, just to give you a little perspective as to how massive the changes are since I played, like I was 2014 to 2016, right? So we're like barely 5 years out from when I played. When I was there, when we would go in for breakfast in the morning, there was bagels, but no cream cheese. You'd say so stupid. Why is that a thing? Because in the NCAA bylaws, bagels by themselves were a snack. Bagels with cream cheese was a meal. Snacks are allowed. Meals were not allowed. I'm not joking. So like that is how insane things are looking back. And now we're talking about guys signing or collectively over $500,000 deal per year.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just so insane to think about. Like we were literally policing bagels versus bagels and cream cheese. Banana, snack, banana with peanut butter, meal, not allowed. Wow. This is how far we've come. Like
so that mango, so that mango vinegar little thing they got now, that would be considered a meal, right?
Well, I don't even know what that is. They've got, what do they got? Some like sports drink or something?
No, it's a thing that I guess it's a thing now. It's been the last couple of seasons with the guys. They take a mango and they put the hot sauce on
the juice.
Yeah, and the lime and all that. Yeah.
Oh man, I mean, like now I see the stuff that they're getting. I'm like, man, I'm too old. I was 5 years too old for sure.
Yeah.
I saw them getting the Uncrustables, and I was like, wow, that's nice, man. I wish I had some of those, but
yeah. I mean, we started to get lunch catered, I think, my sophomore year, and that was a huge thing. We're like, oh man, this is awesome. Like we get lunch in the locker room after practice. This is amazing. But now I think they get stipend credits for like Deli Lane for breakfast. They've got like, gift cards that they can spend at other places. Like we've come so far. And I'm not saying this as like, oh man, why are they getting this stuff?
No, I'm
saying it as in like, what the hell was so wrong 5 years ago where we were looking at this as insane permissible benefits? It's like, that is the issue. It's not that it's not okay now. It's like, what were we thinking? Looking at this 5 years ago and saying, this is so ridiculous. It's against amateurism for the love of the game. Like, come on, man.
Our man over here, Adam, was throwing down like 10 bagels.
Yeah, but you can't have cream cheese though.
Let me have a bunch of snacks.
That's it.
Bagels.
Just snacks. Snack me up.
Yeah.
Man.
Oh, man. No, honestly, thank you guys so much for having me. This was really awesome. Anytime you want me to come on, happy to give you the rundown. As you said, it's kind of hour by hour in terms of everything that's changing. But super excited for all this moving forward. We're going to work through the kinks. My big thing is I just don't want to see guys get hurt. Like that's really like why I'm doing this.
Yeah,
I love this stuff. When I played, I was not entirely sure the route that I was going to go. And then, when I walked in on D1, they throw like the 400-page NCAA handbook at you, and they're like, all right, sign this, let's go, we're good to go. And I'm thinking like, okay, well, like they're not going to explain any of this to us. We're just supposed to sign all of this. Like the whole process to me was not right. And that is what really led me towards sports law. And this has been like the perfect opportunity for me to combine my legal experience in the sports law world with the greatest passion that I have, that I spent every waking moment of the day for 3.5 years doing stuff. So it really has been the perfect opportunity. And I'm just sitting here thinking, guys, come to, if not me, any attorney, please, I beg you, have an attorney look at your stuff before you sign anything. I will leave you guys with this. I'm going to plug my Instagram real quick because I put it on my Instagram. My Instagram is aae.law. That's my law firm, Arnott Athletics and Entertainment. I was asked to look over a partnership for a client called Yoke Gaming. Have you guys seen that?
Yes. Yes. It's where you can game with like NFL players, NBA players, and stuff of that nature.
Bingo. So it's a platform where basically fans can get on the stream. They can request to play with athletes, entertainers, whoever they're interested in playing with, and they can play video game stream with them. So I had someone reach out to me. They're like, hey, Yoke is offering me $20 to promote Yoke on my social media for 48 hours just to put a post up. This is June 30th at almost midnight, keep in mind. So this is like right before all of this is about to go live. So I'm like, okay, awesome. Congrats on potentially your first NIL deal. This is awesome. Even though it's $20, like you're getting the ball rolling. This is great. Send me the contract. I'll look it over and let's get this done so you can post this at midnight. He's like, oh, well, there's no contract. He just said that they're going to pay me as close to like 48 hours as they could after I post it. I'm thinking, okay, well, that just absolutely doesn't fly in terms of legality.
Exactly.
Like, I wouldn't let anyone that I care about agree to anything as loosely verbed as that, right? That's crazy.
Right.
So I thought, all right, they're not giving him a contract, but they're making him download the app. Let me see the terms and conditions of the app. Because when you download any app, as you guys know, you have to click I accept the terms and conditions to make a profile, advance, standard social media stuff. If you're a normal fan using the app, totally expected, totally fine. You should expect to, give away your rights while you're using the platform because, you have to allow it on social media. Like the network needs to be allowed to use your stuff. That's normal for a social media network. But the athletes are not normal users of this app. They are paid advertisers trying to get people to download the app. So they should have been provided a separate contract because they don't have the same professional relationship with a normal person who's downloading the app to use it. So I looked at the terms and conditions, and in the 5th or 6th paragraph, it says, you grant Yoke a worldwide, perpetual, irrevocable, sublicensable, transferable license to use your name, image, and likeness in perpetuity that can be modified, reproduced, edited in any way we see fit forever. Right? Like they gave them the blanket, kitchen sink, everything license for $20.
Man.
And everyone is looking at this like thousands of athletes across the country signed up for this. Thousands. I'm not joking. And all of these guys, because they didn't have a separate contractual relationship with Yoke Gaming, the only contract that they had with Yoke was the click to accept terms and conditions because they weren't provided anything else, which is insane. Like the normal terms and conditions should not be the same contract that the paid advertisers of the app are getting.
Wow.
And it's so crazy to think about. Like, how did Yoke not even think we need to come up with a separate contractual relationship that says we're going to use your name, image, and likeness for these purposes only. We can't use it forever. You know what I mean? Like, it should have been way more limited for $20. And thousands of people downloaded the app. I hope that not a ton of them played video games on the app, because then if they did, anything that was recorded of them playing the video games on the app with the fan is usable by Yoke in whatever form they want, royalty-free, forever, irrevocable, which is absolutely crazy to think about that was given away for $20. And it's all because
unbelievable.
When you click to accept the terms and conditions, you click to accept the terms and conditions. Like, you clicked it, and you accept it.
True.
And that's the thing. It's like, I can only like plug myself so much, but it's like, I don't even care if you come to me, like come to someone. Like the implications of doing this wrong are so huge. No one should be giving up irrevocable, royalty-free, perpetual licenses to their rights of publicity for $20 in a click to accept terms and conditions. Like, that is just absolutely absurd. Imagine a professional athlete doing that. Like Juju, like is Juju going to agree to the click to accept terms and conditions? I mean, like, it's just absolutely crazy to think about. So I don't want to see guys get hurt. I don't care if you come to me, but please, for the love of God, talk to someone, consult an attorney before you do anything in this space, because there's huge implications of whether your agreements are exclusive or non-exclusive, how your intellectual property is going to be used, whether that they can reproduce it or edit it or use it without your permission. Like these are essential pieces of intellectual property law, and guys on the team should not, and also don't have the time to look after and properly manage any of this stuff. So that's what me and, other attorneys in this space are here for. And, if you guys ever have any questions, always feel free to reach out to me. Always here for you guys. And, anyone in general, you can find me on Instagram at aae.law, or my personal, which is Adam Arnott. My last name's Arnaut. Always posting new NIL content and stuff going on there. And, of course, going to be posting a lot from the Bama game September 4th. I'm going, of course. So, it's either Canes content or NIL content. But, yeah, happy to be a resource to anyone who may have questions. And, really thankful that I got the chance to talk to you guys about it.
Yeah,
man, we
awesome,
really
man.
appreciate it. I mean, yeah, because you answered a lot of questions. It's something new for everybody. Everybody has a lot of different questions, and
you answered questions I didn't know I had.
Exactly.
And
absolutely.
I know that I generated 100 new questions for you guys. So
Yeah.
Which we'll get back to you on that later.
Perfect. And the answers will be different when I answer them at that time than they would have been if I answered them.
I'm sure they will be. All right, Adam,
Absolutely.
you have a great night, man. And we'll talk to you later. Once again, thank you. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much. Really appreciate it. And I'm sure we'll be talking again soon.
Oh, you know we will. Take care, man.
Yep.
All right.
Dude, that was awesome.
Oh my God, man.
Yeah. My brain hurts a little bit.
We've been on for 2 hours and I don't even feel like it.
It doesn't seem like it.
Like, honestly, has your wife yelled at you yet?
The text messages has been going off, but it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah. Do you want to just get right into our last segment?
You want to just get into it? Well, real quick, you guys can support the show, all over. Catch us on our podcast, Apple, iHeart, Spotify, all those. Follow us on all the social medias. Canes Call In. Yeah, I mean, just amazing. Just amazing. I just have so many more questions. But anyways, let's get into the last segment. Let's get out of here because it's late.
Yeah, let's do it.
You ready? Sorry.
This week I grabbed a random card. So
all right, what you got?
This is what we ended up with. I think it's pretty decent. We got a Travis Homer rookie auto.
Oh yeah, I like that.
You can see the shine to it. It is numbered 42 out of 99, so that means there's only 99 of these bad boys.
Oh, nice.
So, Travis Homer, man.
Gotta love him.
I always remember that one. Yeah, he was always into anime and Dragon. Yeah. Dude,
that was
loved
fun.
the dude. He was awesome, man. But
absolutely, Adam is the man.
I know we're like coming up on 2 hours here, and I think we're both looking to get out of here because I'm starving. I haven't eaten yet, and I'm sure your wife is about to beat the shit out of you if you don't get off. But I just gotta say,
dinner's cold, but it's okay.
Yeah, I just gotta say, man, that was amazing. Like first of all, David Lake, like honestly, and I wasn't just saying that because he was on here.
Oh,
David
I know
Lake
you talked about that as
people,
soon as we booked him.
Yeah, is one of the guys that I'm like, dude, like just listening to him, reading all of his stuff, like all of his content, like that was just amazing, honestly. And I'm still like, I'm gonna have to rewatch the episode because I don't even remember it. I like blacked out midway.
No, I love David Lake. I love Gabby. I listen to that podcast every time it comes out. I mean, we are subscribed to InsideTheU.com and man, and then Adam, dude,
man,
just bringing it, man. And a couple weeks, we'll bring him back on, maybe just after fall camp, maybe just before the season, see if there's any new updates. Maybe talk about the Canes upcoming season and all that good stuff. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So just to sum it all up, man, that was a great show. Next week, though, we're gonna be having on. Well, we're gonna have Malcolm Grant on for sure. Former Canes hoops player. We're going to be talking about the TBT, the basketball tournament. He's on the team along with some other dudes from Miami. So we'll get into that, his Miami playing days and the TBT tournament, them practicing for it. I don't even know if they practice for it or whatever, but
we'll find out next week.
But it'll be interesting. Yeah, man. It'll be cool to have our first like Basketball Chronicles, show.
Absolutely.
So, all
right, let's get on out of here.
We go?
Nope. I really do appreciate everybody tuning in. We still got people in the chat with us for this long.
Your son is
thank you
here.
for this one. Yeah, he is. He's in because he's probably wanting to eat or play or whatever. But anyways, we thank everybody, all the support we've been getting, podcasts and everything. Just thank you guys really much. We really appreciate it. You got anything you want to say?
No, that's about it. I mean, I appreciate all the support. We do this because we love doing it. We love talking Canes. We love, just shooting the shit and everything, and good vibes all around.
It's fun hanging out with everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, guys. As always, it's all about the you. We'll see you next week. Thank you for watching another great show by Kane's Call In. Be sure to tune in next week at 8 p.m. Eastern.
We lit!